Hello, this is Bobby Lane with Bobby Lane Productions, and today we're going to talk about Ultrabeat. This will be a three-part series. In this first part of the series, we will just cover the interface of Ultrabeat. Mostly, we'll just stay with that, and then subsequently we'll have more information as we go along in the following tutorials. So here we are inside Logic. I've created a project called UB2Do, and what we've got here are 4 tracks. The first 2 tracks are the software instrument tracks, and then the second 2 are audio tracks. So we're on a software instrument track. Let's go ahead and insert Ultrabeat. So we click on this, we come down to Ultrabeat. Right away we see we have 2 options, stereo or multi-output. For the time being, we're going to stay with stereo, and we'll talk more about the multi-output later. So Ultrabeat loads right up. We've got a default kit that is loaded. This particular kit is not one of my favorites, so I'm going to change it right away. So as you see along the top here, we've got this drop-down menu, and click on that, and we've got quite a few things here. In this section here, these are drum kits that I have done different changes to or created, and I have saved them. You can save the settings here. Coming on down, we've got the drum kits that come loaded with Ultrabeat. We have drum banks. Those are specific elements to drums. These the tutorial settings, that's just basically an empty kit. And then we have some of the older kits that were shipped with Ultrabeat years ago. So anyhow, coming to our drum kits, I'm going to pick one of these here. I like the Big Beat Remix kit. So we'll click on that, and right away it loads up all new samples and all new channels here. So the 3 main sections to Ultrabeat is on the left side over here. This is our assignment section. Here in the middle, this is our synthesizer section, and down at the bottom is our step sequencer, this whole section along here. So let's start out with the assignment section. First of all, you have 25 separate synthesizers here. So for each drum voice, we have a synthesizer devoted to shaping and creating sounds just for that particular assignment. So here's the kick, here's the bright rim. As you see, as I click, go up, all these settings are different. So really, this synthesizer section is strictly just for this particular channel. Now at the bottom here, this is C1. So for MIDI, this would be your C1 all the way up to C, this would be B2. And then up here is C3. So you've got 25 channels here. Now, all of these are for creating or shaping different drum voices. The very last one is a little different. It will take your MIDI notes from C3 on up, and it can be used chromatically. So you can play this from your MIDI controller from C3 on up and have actually chromatic sounds. You could load a bass into here, a bass sound into here, and actually be able to play it from here through your MIDI. So to hear any of these sounds, we just need to turn on the interface itself, and then we can, right away, we can just click on the key and hear different sounds. Now, inside this section, the assignment section, we have a master fader which will control the entire kit, the volume. If you'd like to, say you have it set way down and you'd like to get it back to 0 dBs, just option click and it'll take it right back. Going from left to right here on each one of the channels, you can see you have a mute button, you have a solo button, and you have a pan left and right button. You can hard right or hard left. Again, if you'd like to get it back in the middle, option click, and you're right back in the middle. And then you have your output section. And the output is definitely going to come in handy when we go to the multi-output version of Ultrabeat. So if I click on this, I have the menu that drops down. I have 8 stereo channels and 8 mono channels to send the outputs to each one of these. So the first one would be 1 and 2, then you've got 3 and 4, all the way down to 15, 16. And then going from there, you have 17 through 24, which are the mono channels. Now, I don't know if you can see it or not, but right here you can see the little letters SQ, 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 and some of these don't have SQ. That refers to this particular voice has MIDI information. So as you click on it, you can see in the step sequencer we have MIDI information there. On one that doesn't show SQ, there's nothing going on. Okay, so that pretty much gives you an idea of what the assignment section is all about. Let's move across here and look at the synthesizer section. Now this is laid out as a typical subtractive synthesis, and honestly, there's a lot here. It's very, very deep. You can do so much with creating and shaping sounds, but essentially you have your oscillators, and this moves from left to right. So here is where the creation and shaping is going on. You've got these oscillator 1, oscillator 2, and this is a noise generator here. You can turn these elements off and on. And then when you turn something on, you get to see the direction that it's going in. So as this goes around, you see here where that goes. And within this oscillator, within all the different elements, there's just so much shaping and changing you can do here. And really it just takes a lot of experimentation. I've found that for the most part, I like what I hear when I load up a kit, and I don't do a lot of changes, but if you need to, it's here for you. Turning it off and on, again, you've got the switches. This oscillator here, oscillator 2, has the sample section, and this is very important. These are real samples, and we'll get into creating our own drum kit using some of our own samples, perhaps third-party samples and whatnot. So when you see a sample here, you're going to automatically have this envelope here that will affect the way the sample plays back. You've got your attack, decay, sustain, and release, and you can shape this envelope here to make it sound how you want. For the most part, when you have your own samples, I've found that they sound best when they're just really wide open and allowed to play the entire sample every time you strike that MIDI note. So and then now in the synthesizer section still, we're looking here at the output, so the main output. And part of the output is these EQs. So you can add and subtract EQ. Band number 2 was already on, and you can see it's got a little bump right here at 340, just a small boost. And this is the snare. If you wanted to add more, you could say, let's give it a boost way up, say around 2.5, and we're going to crank it up, and we're going to really make it wide or really narrow. So we've got the option to do that. If I want to change it, I can make it into this or this. So I'll turn that off. All right, so a lot going on in the synthesizer section. Way more than I'm capable of explaining, and there's plenty of documentation through the documentation.apple.com, and also plenty of tutorials on YouTube. So let's move right along into the sequencer section. That's all this section here, and there's a lot happening here as well. So with step sequencers, you usually have a resolution and you have a length, and so this is set up at 1/16, which would be 16th notes, and the length is 32, so that indicates we've got a 2-measure loop going on right here. So we can actually change the resolution if we like. I like to keep it at 16th notes. We can change the length too just by double-clicking and typing in what length we want. So let's say I want 16 as the length. That would be 1 measure. There you go. And as you see, this bar right up here changed to the 16. So if I stretch it back out, it's going to go right back to 32. Each one of these bars here indicate MIDI information going for that kick. So as I go up, you're seeing the different sequences, or the different MIDI information in this particular sequence. And if you want to see a full overview of how each instrument has its MIDI information, you just click on Full View, and there you have it. You can see up here on the shaker, I've got some shaker happening, closed hi-hat. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to do an open hi-hat. So I'm up here, and I wanted to do every downbeat. I can right-click, and there it is, add every downbeat. Let's undo that and come back up here, open hi-hat, full view. Let's say I want to do every upbeat. Same kind of deal. Shift left one step. So I've got quite a bit of ability to do several things here in this full view. Let's come back down here to the closed hi-hat, this one here, and let's say I want to copy and paste it. So I copy that, and then I come back up here and I can paste those same notes right across there. Now let's say I don't want that, so I want to shift it shift right one step. So I shifted it. Now that may or may not sound good, but sometimes little things like this can come in handy and really help you to get things done quickly. Alright, so off the full view, let's go ahead and just mute that particular channel. Let's give a listen to this sequence. Alright, the sequence was already loaded with this kit, and it is the first sequence in the kit, so let's go ahead and give it a listen. So you can see along the side here, all the different elements are lighting up as they're receiving information, MIDI information. So they're playing right to whatever's being told to play. If I wanted to put in another kick, let's say another kick right here, you're going to hear it right away next time it comes over. So we've got that double sound. And there's just so much you can do here. It really gives you a lot of options. Now, sequences. How many do we have? Well, each one has 24 sequences available, and in this particular kit, they've already loaded up 13 different sequences for us. So if I want to preview these, I can go ahead and just hit this, and then click on the next one down. Here we go. And that's a totally different one. Let's try another one. So as you see, all these different sequences have been preloaded. So that's pretty nice. Some of these sequences are perfect for what you're looking for. Other ones you may want to change. You can change them and create slightly different versions of them. And then sometimes you can just start out totally fresh with something new of your own. So these are open for you. You've got 14 through 24 in this particular drum kit that are unused. So we click on that, look at the full view. There's no information whatsoever. So let's go back to our normal view and let's lay down our own beat. So on the kick drum, we know usually it's 1 and 3. So we're going to go to 1 and 3 and 1 and 3. On the snare drum, typically it's 2 and 4. So go 2 and 4 and 2 and 4. And let's see what that sounds like. Okay, a basic little setup. Let's go to a closed hi-hat. Now in this particular instant, I want to go ahead and let's say every upbeat. And how about every downbeat? Okay, let's see what that sounds like. All right, not too bad. Let's go to an open hi-hat. Here it is up here. I did mute that before, so it looks like it's cleared out. Let's go ahead and do every downbeat. And now let's shift that over by 1. Let's see what that sounds like. Not too bad. let's say I wanted here, back to the closed, let's say I wanted to clear this. I can clear it. Okay. Now let's say I want to do every downbeat, every upbeat, and shift one step. Okay, so that's pretty good right there. I thought I might be able to do every single beat, so let's just do it in there manually. We'll do this one, we'll do this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And what I'm showing you here is the fact that you never really want to do an open hi-hat and a closed hi-hat in the same location. So I've got 3, then it's open, and then 3 and it's open. Let's see what that sounds like. All right, pretty cool. Now we want to, let's say, here's the accent. So here is the accent fader, and that's going to add 6 dBs to where it's sitting right now. So to make it do an accent, let's go to our snare. And here's our snare. Let's say we want this snare hit to be accented. So now it's going to give an extra 6 dBs when I play it back. You can hear it come up a little bit. So let's do something else. Let's put this here, take the accent off of that, and let's put the accent there and see how that sounds. Alright, let's say I want to switch it back to this way. I can do it real time and it'll play back as soon as I'm done. Now let's come down to our kick. Let's do an extra kick right before here. And let's do an extra kick right before here. So a lot you can do, and then there's just a ton more stuff here I can do that's wide open to me. This particular sequence that we created, how do I get it into my arrange window for Logic Pro? Well, pretty simple. Here it is. I've got it loaded up. It's number 14. All right. So here, when I hover my mouse right here, drag to arrange to window, drag to arrange window, I just click, drag, and drop. And there it is. It's a 2-measure MIDI file. And if I want to play that in Logic, I need to go ahead and turn off Ultrabeat because it's going to get... we don't need Ultrabeat to be on to generate its own sound. It's going to receive all the information from this MIDI file. So we turn off Ultrabeat. To get back to the starting point of this particular arrange window, we just hit 0. And if I'd like to loop this, just to have a loop up here, I can click up in that section, drag this over to equal that length, and now hit the space bar and it's going to play back. Now you can see that it's got that snare. It's got that snare accent right in there. That's pretty nice. And even if I turned it off here in the interface, you'll still hear that. You'll still hear that accent. That's because the accent is information that's inside the actual MIDI file itself. There's all our MIDI notes here. That's in our piano roll. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that. Inside of Ultrabeat, there is a lot more with every single section that I talked about here. But for the time being, we're going to leave it pretty simple. We have this swing. We can add a swing feel to it. You can kind of feel that swing going in there. Somewhere around 60% is usually good. Put too much swing on it, it sounds kind of goofy. Somewhere around 60 is usually about right. There is this section here where you can actually do step editing. This is fairly complicated, but it's not that complicated that you can't learn it. But for now, I'm going to stay away from that. We're just going to stay in the voice mode Let's see, what else do we need to look at? Here's our pattern. We can drag and drop it. For instance, if we wanted to take a different pattern and put it in there, let's take this one here. We can add it right to this one here. So we're just going to pull it up there, and then we'll pull our loop here and see how these two sound together. Make sure you turn it off, play it, and there's the one we created. Now here's the one we pulled off of 3. Okay. One thing I may have forgotten to mention is in each one of these channels in the assignment section, you do have that master fader. Well, you also can control the volume of each individual voice. So let's say on this particular one, we feel like the hi-hat is a little too loud. We can bring it back, just click here and drag to the left and drop 10 dBs off of it. So you can hear it's quite a bit lower. You can't even hear it now. Or if you want to bring it up louder. And again, if you want to put this back to 0, just option click on it. All right. I think that's going to do it for now. I believe that's covering the interface pretty well. I don't see anything else that I feel like we should go into at this time. There will be more tutorials on Ultrabeat, of course. We've got a lot more we can talk about. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye, and thanks for listening, and enjoy your Ultrabeat.